Beneath the surface stories of healing, courage, and transformation. Today between chalk dust and daydreams.
My name is Anna Parker, and at 23, I already feel as though I've been living the same day for years. Every morning I arrive at Hawthorne Elementary before the sun fully stretches over the red brick buildings. The hallway smells of waxed floors and yesterday's crayons. I carry a canvas bag heavy with lesson plans and novels that no one but me will ever read. "Good morning, Miss Parker," my students chirp as they tumble into the classroom like a dozen tiny storms. Their voices rise and swirl, and for a moment it almost feels like music. I smile, because that's what a teacher does, and launch into another day of metaphors and fairy tales, of stories where characters leap oceans and fight dragons while I remain in the same small town where I was born. When I was a child, my grandmother used to keep a map on her kitchen wall. Each time she baked cookies, she would hand me a pin and ask, "Where to next, little explorer?" I would stick a pin in Iceland one week, Kenya the next. I believed the world was waiting for me, that I would collect those pins like seashells. But life, as it often does, had a quieter plan. After college, I came home to help my mother when Dad's health declined. A temporary year of teaching became 2, then 3. Dad got better, but I stayed. Somewhere along the way, the dream of boarding planes turned into grading papers under buzzing fluorescent lights. Some afternoons, while my students bend over their journals, I drift toward the windows. The schoolyard is framed by a slice of sky so blue it hurts. I imagine that sky stretched across deserts and oceans, the same sky over Marrakesh and Kyoto and Patagonia. It feels close enough to touch and impossibly far all at once. After dismissal, I stack chairs, wipe chalk dust from my skirt, and walk the 3 blocks home. My apartment smells faintly of old books and coffee grounds. I cook simple dinners, pasta, lentil soup, and eat while reading travel essays. Paul Theroux becomes my dinner companion. Pico Iyer keeps me awake past midnight. Friends from college post pictures from Barcelona, Cape Town, Seoul. I tap the heart icon, whisper congratulations, and feel the quiet ache of a life unlived. Yet there are moments, small, stubborn sparks, that keep me going. When little Grace recites a poem by heart and beams with pride. When I watch the first snowflakes fall through the classroom window and hear 20 children gasp in unison. In those instants I realize that I am traveling in a way, moving through other people's beginnings, witnessing first discoveries. Still, the map in my grandmother's kitchen lingers in my memory. Every evening, after grading and dishes, I pull up flight search engines, let my cursor hover over destinations. Reykjavik, Nairobi, Santiago. I don't click purchase. Not yet. Maybe one day I will. Maybe one day a single pin will find its way from dream to reality. The first real snowstorm of winter arrived on a Thursday. By mid-morning the playground was a white blur, and the children were too restless to sit still. I abandoned my carefully planned lesson on personification and pulled a book from the shelf, The Little Prince. We read aloud as the wind rattled the windows. When I reached the part where the prince talks about matters of consequence, a hush fell over the room. "Miss Parker," little Milo asked, his voice small but sure, "have you ever been to another planet?" The class giggled, but his question rooted itself inside me. "I haven't," I said, "but I'd love to see one. Maybe Earth has places that feel like other planets." After dismissal, while the snow muffled the town in silence, I stayed late to tidy the classroom. The world outside the windows looked endless, like a blank page. For the first time in months, the idea of leaving didn't feel like a betrayal of my responsibilities. It felt like possibility. That weekend I met my college friend Clara for coffee. She breezed into the cafe wrapped in a scarf the color of saffron, cheeks flushed from Parisian winter air, because of course she had just flown back from Paris. "How's my favorite teacher?" she asked. I hesitated, stirring my cappuccino. I love the kids, but sometimes I feel like I'm standing still. Clara's eyes softened. "Then move. Take a trip, even a small one. You don't have to circle the globe to start." Her words settled over me like warm rain. Move. Not quit my job, not abandon my students, just move. That night I dug out my grandmother's old map. The paper smelled faintly of vanilla and thyme. I pinned a single spot almost without thinking. Lisbon. It wasn't the farthest or the most glamorous, but something about its sunlit tiles and ocean edge called to me. For weeks I saved a little from each paycheck, skipped unnecessary treats, and filled a journal with sketches of Portuguese streets. I told no one but Clara. My secret plan pulsed like a heartbeat under every ordinary day. Spring break arrived with shy daffodils. I packed a small suitcase, left detailed notes for the substitute teacher, and boarded a plane before dawn. As the aircraft lifted through clouds, I pressed my forehead to the window. Below, my town shrank to a patchwork of fields and frozen rivers. Ahead, the Atlantic stretched wide and unknowable. In that moment, I realized the world had never been closed to me. I had only been waiting for my own permission. The plane touched down at sunrise. Lisbon greeted me with the smell of salt and roasted chestnuts drifting through an open terminal door. The air felt softer here, warmer, even in early spring. I clutched the handle of my small suitcase and stepped onto the cobblestone street outside the airport. For the first time in years, no one knew my name. My Airbnb host, a cheerful woman named Sophia, welcomed me with a map and a quick lesson in basic Portuguese phrases. "Don't worry if you get lost," she said with a wink. "That's how Lisbon shows you her secrets." I wandered uphill through narrow lanes where laundry fluttered between pastel buildings. The city pulsed with fado music from open windows, a melancholy sound that somehow made me feel less alone. Each day I set out without a strict plan. I sipped espresso in tiny cafes and listened to conversations I couldn't understand but somehow felt. I rode tram 28 as it rattled past azulejo-tiled houses, each tile a story of sun and sea. One afternoon I found a quiet bookshop tucked behind a cathedral. Inside, the scent of old paper and ocean air mingled. I chose a slim poetry collection and sat by the window. Reading there, I realized something. I wasn't running away from my life. I was stepping toward it. On my fourth evening, I stopped at a small rooftop bar. The sunset poured gold across the Tagus River. A guitarist strummed softly. Next to me, a fellow traveler sketched the skyline in a worn notebook. "Beautiful, isn't it?" he said, in an accent I couldn't place. We spoke about art, about why we travel, about the quiet courage it takes to leave comfort behind. His name was Luca. We didn't exchange numbers. We didn't need to. Some encounters are meant only for the moment they fill. A week later, I returned to my classroom. The children rushed to tell me everything I'd missed. Lost teeth, new pets, spelling victories. I smiled, heart swelling. When Milo asked if I'd found another planet, I knelt beside his desk and whispered, "Yes. And I'll tell you all about it." That night I pinned a second spot on my grandmother's old map, Kyoto. Not as a dream, this time as a promise.
Subscribe to the Beneath the Surface channel so you don't miss new and exciting videos and stories.